So, as a counseling and psychotherapy student, what do I talk about in my therapy sessions? Because as you guys know, if you've been watching my channel for the past year, that it is mandatory to do 35 hours of therapy each year. So that's 105 hours in total across the 3 years. So I remember before starting this master's thinking, what am I going to talk about in therapy? What am I going to talk about in therapy? Because you just think like, because there's nothing significantly going bad in your life, you think, oh God, I haven't got anything to talk about. I don't have past trauma. I don't have like big problems in my life. So what on earth do I talk about? So I was definitely very lost and definitely not sure about what to bring to my therapy. And by the time my therapy started, the issue that I was going to bring to my therapy was no longer an issue. So I was like, well, what am I going to talk about now? But fortunately and unfortunately, by the time I did start my therapy, I was actually having such a really difficult time. So I had something to bring to therapy. And now, in the last few months, everything has kind of calmed down, slowed down, and is a bit more manageable now. So I haven't really had much to bring to therapy. So I told my therapist for this year, I told him that I don't really know what to talk about in therapy. And him being like quite an experienced therapist, he said, let's do a timeline of your life and let's see how things in your life up to today have impacted the person who you are, and I'll get onto that later. So what do I talk about in therapy? One of the things that I do talk about is what is currently going on in my life. So especially if I've got a lot of stresses, a lot of things like coming at me, a lot of deadlines, a lot of expectations and things to do that are overwhelming and stressful, then I will bring that to therapy and talk about how best to manage it, check if I've got supportive systems around me, and if there's anyone, and if we can find solutions on how to move forward. Because a lot of the time when we're overwhelmed and stressed, some of us are able to function really well under that stress. Sometimes some of us shut down a bit, so we're not able to think clearly about what solutions we can get to. So with a therapist who is able to slow things down for you and talk things through with you, you can find solutions to your problems a lot better. Another thing that I talk about is uni and what's going on at uni, what I'm learning about, and if I've got any questions about whatever I'm learning about or things that I'm not sure about, then I bring those to therapy as well. Because every time I do start with a new therapist, I do tell them that I'm a student therapist so that I can also get their help and expertise on the like career side of things and the education side of things, so that it's not always just about like my problems and whatever else I've got going on in my life. So some of my therapists really do take the time out to speak to me about what's going on in uni, and if I've got any questions about it and any advice that they can offer me about being in the career, being in the industry. So that's also really, really helpful as well. The other thing I talk about obviously is the relationships in my life, family, friends, whatever else, even work. I bring that into there and I'll talk about, if I've got problems with people or someone, how best to navigate it, how to work through it, what's going on for that person that I might not be seeing, and even if I can see what's going on for them, how can I respond in a way that makes the situation better. So it's been definitely helpful in terms of understanding things that trigger me from childhood and stuff like that. So that's another thing as well, talking about my childhood. That's come up a lot, and it's been really, really helpful to understand things that happen in childhood and how they trigger me now in relationships now. It's still, and how it affects me now, and how to handle it now, even though it's something that happened maybe like 15-20 years ago. So it's really, really good to kind of just have that look back and talk about what happened in your past and how it's affecting me now. Another thing that I realized that I didn't think I could go to therapy before was just for self-growth, self-improvement, self-development as an individual, because obviously nobody's perfect and we're all growing and we're all learning and evolving as people. So I've learned to kind of bring my flaws to therapy and talk about my flaws and things that I want to improve and work on as a person. One of the big things I know that I wanted to talk about in therapy from when I started doing self-development in therapy, one of the things that I wanted to work on was how I was quite passive aggressive. And to be honest with you, I feel like I can finally say I'm no longer passive aggressive, because when I'm upset or when I am annoyed or when I'm angry, I can actually verbalize it and actually speak on it rather than just like silent treatment and be passive aggressive and sarcastic about it. Like, I will actually deal with the situation at hand. So therapy has definitely helped me with just like personal development. So anytime that I notice there's like a repeating cycle or pattern of behavior that I don't like within myself, I take it to therapy and we work through it and we talk about it and we try to figure out where it started from, how I've been displaying it in different relationships with people in my life, and what exactly is about it that I don't like, and then we work out. And the thing is, once I'm aware of the behavior, then it's a lot easier for me to figure out how to manage it. It might not completely go away. Some behaviors may never change, may never leave, may never go away because they're such a strong part of who you are, but you can learn to manage them now that you're aware of them. So that's really, really helpful. This has definitely had a positive impact on the relationships with people in my life, and I've just been able to be, I guess, weed out, like, get rid of the weeds and the negative stuff in myself. And I'm still a work in progress, don't get me wrong. I still have so many flaws, because the thing is, obviously, as you go through different things in life that you've never experienced before, you'll see different sides of yourself, ugly sides of yourself that you've never seen before. You'll see things in yourself that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was capable of that. Or you know, as more good stuff comes out of you, it also comes with its bad, it also comes with its negatives. So it's not always the case that just because I'm growing and bettering myself as a person, I'm now perfect or I'm now better, but I'm also gonna have some negative things that come with that, and which different relationships and different environments are going to expose you to different things, which is going to bring out different sides of you. Some of those things can be good and some of those things can be bad. So yes, I've definitely improved as a person, but I feel like there's definitely other things that I'm still learning about myself that I'm like, oh, I didn't. Like, you learn, and it's like an onion, you're always peeling back and discovering something new. So it's always there, it's always been a part of who I am, but it only gets triggered in situations that are new and different. So in 10 years, I could be having like my first child or my second child and realizing that I'm actually like this, because I've never been a mother before. So obviously when I'm a mother, I'll see a different side of myself I've probably never seen before, and I'll have to obviously work on that as well when the time comes. So it's just really, really fascinating and really interesting to just learn about yourself and see how you are, and also just be able to develop yourself in every season of your life. So I'm grateful for the therapy hours. Don't get me wrong, they're really expensive and I wish I didn't have to pay, and I wish it wasn't mandatory, but it's been helpful nonetheless. Like I said, the good comes with the bad. So rewind back to what I was saying at the start of the video. So one of my therapists decided that we should do a timeline of my life. So for the past, I think 3 or 4 sessions, we've been talking about the timeline of my life, and so far we are at age 16, and so we've talked about like different things that have happened, significant things that have happened in my life, and then kind of stopped to dissect and talk about certain things and how they've impacted me. So now we're at 16. It's a really crucial age because a lot of stuff happened around that time, and there are things that I've not really ever talked about or thought about in a lot of detail or discussed with people. So I think having therapy is like a really good place to talk about those things before they start affecting you in worse ways, or before they start manifesting in really ugly ways in your life. If you don't know what to talk about in therapy, you can always definitely say to your therapist, what if we just do a timeline of my life? But if you're also a therapist, or you plan to be a future therapist, if you ever get a client who says, I don't know what to talk about, just offer doing a timeline of your life. Because I think that's actually such an amazing thing that I will take away from my time with this therapist this year, is that if I ever get a client in the future who says, I don't know what to talk about, we'll just be like, okay, let's start at the beginning, from your earliest memory to where you are now. Let's just talk about that, and things will come up along the way. So I think that's a really, really amazing strategy that my therapist used, because I felt the sessions were getting a bit like dry and repetitive because I didn't know what to speak about. And I also know what it's like to be like bored with a client, and I didn't, not that I want to be a fun client, but it's like you don't want to like dread having a session with a client. So at least now I feel like he looks forward to our sessions. I hope he does, because I look forward to our sessions now, where I was like, okay, I have something to bring, because before I definitely would be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to bring today? And I was just kind of like trying to pick things out of thin air to talk about in the sessions, and obviously that's not good. Like, you want to have productive sessions with goals that you're working towards, but I didn't have any of that, but now I do, so it's really, really helpful. as a counseling student, that is what I talk about in therapy. And as for when I graduate, I don't know if I will carry on with personal therapy. I might take a break just because it's a lot on my pockets. Okay, it's a lot out of my pocket. I'll probably take a break, but I think I want to have like one therapist who I kind of go to intermittently whenever I need them. So it's not like every week we must meet, but it might be like when I'm going through something for like 6 months, we have sessions, and then I go back to them maybe 2 years later or 4 months later, depending on whatever's going on in my life. So I think I want to have that kind of therapist in my future, where I kind of can go to them for anything. But for as soon as I graduate, I cannot wait to be done with these 105 hours so I can just stop splashing out like 40-50 pounds a week just to pay for therapy, you know. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And I just want to say thank you guys for helping me to reach 500 subscribers. It's almost been a year. I think end of February it's going to be 1 year since I started the channel and I got to 500 subscribers. My goal is to obviously reach 1,000 and be monetized, so I need to get my watch hours to 4,000. I'm like at 1,000 something at the moment, so I'm not doing great, and I would really appreciate your help, guys, in helping me to reach 1,000 subscribers and reaching my 4,000 watch hours so I can become monetized and continue giving you guys great content. Thank you for sticking with me, and thank you so much for watching. So in case you didn't know, I do have a playlist for anyone who wants to be a counselor or a psychotherapist, which you can watch below, and it's got videos from every video I've ever made regarding counseling and therapy and how to become a therapist and where to study and things like that. So be sure to watch that next, and don't forget to subscribe and to like and to leave a comment, because more engagement draws more people to my channel. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.